this is not like a minor thing, right? This needs to be fixed. Look at this. You see this? Like, as long as he keeps spamming animations one after the other, the Pharrell literally doesn't have a hitbox. Right? As long as he keeps just going animation into animation into animation on Wake Up, Pharrell quite literally does not have a hitbox. Now, again, obviously, the Ferry would probably just, like, 2M his ass or something. But, like, are we... Like, the button doesn't work, man. The button doesn't work. We can't... There's not like, oh, just use another button. My kit's broken. My character doesn't function. But yeah, before we get started today, there was something... Well, I guess this is us getting started. But before we play Jita, there's something that I wanted to look into in more detail and also just talk about, you know, maybe bring attention to, because I don't think this is something that Cygames is currently aware is a bug in their video game either. So they have this known bugs list here. I can pull up, maybe, I think it was the Galleon patch as well. We can pull that up. But yeah, so there's something weird going on with Ferry, basically. Something weird going on with Ferry. Alright, so Ferry is bugged, like, really badly. My Zisco, shout out, is the first person that I saw that brought this up. Ferry bugs fater than portrait, exactly. So after hitting the opponent with 2-3-6L, that's her light whip grab, right? And has to, if you hit them from far away, it doesn't do the grab animation. So with it having grab, that means like you have to get like the clean hit, quote unquote. Pharrell will not connect with the opponent on the first frame after they wake up. Doesn't sound so bad, right? Though still a bug. Doing any action on wake up prolongs the effect, usually for the entire duration of the move, right? So I need to show you guys this to see what I'm talking about, right? So this is like a frame kill basically, but the point here is that they're +7, right? It's active frames 7 to 9. It's got 7 frame startup, right? So this means it should hit like this is timing it for a meaty Pharrell basically, right? See, works out. Similar thing here. It's another frame kill that leaves her +7, but when she deals Pharrell, hits on frame 9, not 8. Right? So it's not hitting on the first frame they get up. Now it's +8, so beyond the last active frame, it whiffs entirely instead. Right? Very, very odd. Now that's one thing. That's like, oh, Ferry's meaties are like 1 frame off. That's a bug, but that's not like, oh my god, you know, I'm covering the text, which is why I'm explaining what they're saying at the same time too. But like, you know, that's a bug, but that's not like, oh my god, what did they do? Like, that's gonna cause some problems. Here's the actual, like, really big problem part of this. Right? Like, here's the part that, like, okay, we need a bug fix for this, I think. Waking up with anything but block or walk/run prolongs the effect. See that? So because Gran, it whiffed entirely, it doesn't hit on the first frame. Because Gran woke up with jump, he's like invincible the entire way through the jump to Pharrell. Backdash, invincible the entire way through, right? Rolls, but I wanna double check real quick, make sure you guys know this. Ferry Pharrell absolutely catches roll, right? See that? You cannot roll through Ferry Pharrell. So this is not like normal behavior at all. It's because he woke up with something other than walk or run, right? So he had invincibility to Pharrell the entire time, right? See that? You cannot roll through that. Definitely not through 2 of them. This means everything functions like a reversal against Pharrell. Is the text on the screen there, which is, this is a problem. Right? This is Ferry's fastest long-range move, right? The idea that you can wake up far H like this and it just makes her Pharrell whiff through you and you die? That's not good, right? That is, I would that is like genuinely a very meaningful, I mean, he woke up U-boot and it beat meaty Pharrell. That was, again, these meaties are not whiffed, right? We saw earlier. Look at that. All the way through his DP. He woke up DP, it whiffed, but again, doing any action on wake up after you get grabbed by light gespenst by her 2-3-6L extends this like Pharrell invulnerability until the end of the move, until you're fully done recovering. So he woke up DP, he whiffed through the entire thing, but because he was still in recovery when he landed, it went through it, right? And yeah, of course, yeah, so certainly there are matchups where not being able to stop rolls with Pharrell, because you might be like, oh, why didn't she just do like Far M or Far H, something like that? First off, if one of your moves straight up like just does not function, that's already enough to talk about, but also Pharrell is a very important move for Ferry, right? Namely, Ferry has sort of 2 categories of moves. She's got roll stopping moves and moves that don't lose to jump, right? Far M, Far H, right? They're able to be, especially far M, right? They're able to be rolled through, right? But they recover more than quick enough. If someone tries to jump you, you can anti-air them, right? Something like 2U or even 2M especially, you notice there's a little bit more recovery on them, and they start up a little slower sometimes too, right? So 2M is not as long range, but it will stop rolls, but it's got more recovery on it, and it's more susceptible. Like those 3 extra frames, when we're talking about 34 total, it's much more susceptible to get jumped on, right? Far L is the sort of sweet spot here where you can't roll this, and it's quick, right? Obviously, the price, quote unquote, this pays is that it's the smallest of all of her like big whip normals, right? Like everything else will hit from ranges where Far L will whiff. But my point is that, you know, this button just like not functioning like this is really important. That's insane. Yeah, I mean, she has nothing else that can punish. Yeah, Wake Up Riding Free, so that's 2 different things right here, right? Wake Up Riding Free can invuln through the Far L, which normally would stop Riding Free, right? Like, again, you can't roll through Far L, which means you can't Riding Free through it either, but because the invuln, right, she just goes right through it. And then even still, if she wakes up H Riding Free, yeah, Ferry does not have a move that can punish H Riding Free from there except for Far L, and she can't do it. Right. So yeah, this is where we start speculating, right? My guess is that it's related to this change from the Galleon patch. This was listed in bug fixes, right? Yeah, 9AU got the 236L, like leg gespenst Far L 236L loops were a bug, so it's generally very likely they did it that way. Yeah. So this says, I can go and show you the full thing in the Galleon patch right here, right? There is a section for bug fixes at the end, right? And it mentions... Here it is. Fixed an issue where foes could be hit by a far-standing L while in hit stun from Ferry's Whip It Good. Whip It Good is Gespenst. Well, the L Gespenst follow-up, like the explosion, right? Because normally if you don't do that little explosion, it doesn't do no damage. Not heal, right? Heals the pullback. They took that away from her. Skill properties are otherwise unchanged, and attacks other than Far L will continue to hit. So what this used to be, I can't really show you now because the game just doesn't work that way. But it used to be basically that you could loop this. You could like loop Far L, right? You could like do light whip into Far L, into light whip into Far L, into light whip into Far L until you got the combo limit, right? So it was a this sort of like I mean infinite, but again, combo limit made it not an infinite because it was launched. Right? But it was this combo that Ferry had that they took away, and like sure, right? Were the Gespenst Far L that much of a problem? I remember. I mean, you can go back and the video that I made on this. I was like, that's kind of weird that they called that a bug. Maybe it was like annoying. Maybe it was unintentional, I don't know, right? But for some reason or other, they didn't want that in the video game. It did very, very poor damage, but maybe it made her reward off Far L or off the leg gespenst higher than they want it to be or something like that. But instead of like, you know, you could make this not work by increasing the recovery on this move, right? Or you could make it not work by increasing the startup on Far L or something like that. Some way so that it just wouldn't have time to hit them before it landed, right? In the same way that I can't like Far M them here because the move is just too slow. Instead, what they did is they just hard-coded it, I guess, where after that sort of follow-up, the enemy is just immune to Ferry's Far L. And it seems that this hard-coding, as hard-coding usually does, has resulted in some unexpected behavior, right? Where this invulnerability to Far L, I guess, only resets, like the way that they hard-coded it, I suppose, is that they made it so that, like, the way they know that you're not going to get comboed anymore is, like, once you're fully recovered, right? Obviously, you're invincible when you're on the ground here anyway, but, like, once you're fully recovered, then you can get hit again. But I suppose if you do a move immediately on Wake Up, then you still are in an animation, right? Like, you're not... I don't know how this works, right? But I assume that it basically says that you're still not fully recovered, and therefore you might be getting comboed by 236L into Far L, right? Local coder discovers the reason why people don't use this easy fix. Yeah, I mean, listen, I have tried hard coding things at the past, whether it was professionally or just at school or something like that. It's usually not a good idea. So, and we're seeing potentially some problems with that right now, right? Again, yeah, she can't punish that with anything other than Far L as well. Even with this being made -8, she still can't punish it, right? She has to commit for pressure on Oki, which is kind of real bad. Again, she can't punish this at all. This is literally like this. In this case, it's not even like a, well, why don't you just use 2M or 2U? Which would be an insane thing to say to someone whose character is fundamentally bugged anyway. But like, even if you want to be like, well, I don't care, man, Ferry can just use 2M or something. No, she can't, because riding free is not minus enough to get punished by anything other than Far L right here. But she's immune to Far L.
Get grabbed.
Right? She's immune to Ferry has literally no punish option. If you play Beatrix against Ferry, there's like there's very little reason actually for you to not just try this, right? Unless the Ferry wants to commit to 2U as her like wake up option or some shit. Then you could just go for riding free on wake up, but you can't do anything about it, right? And it gets even worse, by the way. Yeah, I think my Zisco's reasoning here is probably, yeah, I see that. Yeah, that's crazy. It gets even worse, by the way. My Zisco sent me another clip that Shio, I think, right here, found. Look at this. Now, okay, this obviously is never going to happen in a real match. Even with this bug remaining in the game, Ferry would just eventually switch to a different button. But like, this just shows you, like, this is not like a minor thing, right? This needs to be fixed. Look at this. You see this? Like, as long as he keeps spamming animations one after the other, the Pharrell literally doesn't have a hitbox. Right? As long as he keeps just going animation into animation into animation on Wake Up, Pharrell quite literally does not have a hitbox. Now, again, obviously, the Ferry would probably just, like, 2M his ass or something. But, like, like, the button doesn't work, man. The button doesn't work. There's not, like, oh, just use another button. My kit's broken. My character doesn't function. Yeah. And there's... Incendiate. Incendiate fucking popping off. And here's the so the reason that I wanted to make a video about this, because, like, you know, I mean, one, it's like silly, right? Quick test, another thing. If GG or SBA ball hits them after the 236L, far L works normally. Yeah, that makes sense to me, right? But like, the reason that I wanted to make a video about this is that Cygames, they have their little news website right here, right? And if I go to the front page, they actually did put out a bug fix patch yesterday. Fixed an issue where players were able to set Willness character level trophies on their profile before reaching the required level. Okay. Fixed an issue where the recent 10 matches screen displays versus rank as 3. This is hilarious, right? I don't know what the fuck. This sounds very funny, but like, okay, cool. And then, so that's the bugs that they currently fixed. Glad they got their ears to the ground. Yeah. And then they have a known bugs page. Their known bugs page, an issue where executing certain inputs after landing a 6XL will cause it to cancel into a raging strike. This does sound meaningful. I don't know what this is. I don't know how, but like that, you know, that sounds bad for sure. Graphical errors on the Town of Albion stage with certain graphics cards on 1980 by 1080 resolution, which is like, what the fuck is that? And highest higher mid graphics. Okay. An issue in room matches where executing certain inputs after selecting any of the following characters in training mode. An application error will occur if you execute certain inputs after selecting Nier, Lucilius, or 2B with a PlayStation 4 user. Okay. An issue with the online lobby where the game's volume will not match in-game settings if the player matches up with another player while adjusting their volume and sound settings. Okay, sure. I mean, these are all bugs, so these should be fixed, certainly. An issue in the command list where the skill names for Willness's advancing skills, this is the gourd, this is the kick, this is the big, like, stomp, the sumo stomp, don't update their button icons even if the player changes their button configuration. Sure. An issue in online matches where his wind crests don't display properly. The wind crests continue to be usable even when... This one's been around since the release of the video game, I think. Grimnir having the invisible seal dash. I got hit by that, like, in 2024. You know what I mean? So, sure, I'm glad they know about this now. An issue in online matches where the target for Galleon's meteorites doesn't display correctly if Galleon performs other skills after placing the targets. That seems strange. The target also fails to grow in size. Okay, so there's a lot of weird visual bugs. These are real bugs, right? However, voice lines and arcade modes, right? They fixed these two. You may notice that Ferry's most important button simply not functioning is not on this list. Again, I much rather hope they like hard coded this shit in the Galleon patch, and then someone did something in a line of code in the Willness patch that broke this. That'd be silly. If they're doing this on purpose, I will be incredibly, like, I don't even know what to say, disappointed, worried, shocked, right? The only thing that I don't understand about all of this is why did this not break in the Galleon patch? Because as far as I understand, this was not a thing in the Galleon patch, right? This change that made it so they have this immunity to Far L while they're landing from Gespenst happened a patch ago. My only guess is that Ferry's Far L was touched in this patch, right? Ferry's Far L was touched. Its hurt box got extended forward. My only guess is that while they were tweaking this move, there was like an accidental, like some way that this was tweaked broke some kind of layer of Jenga blocks that the hard coding of the Gespenst nerf was like laid on top of, or maybe something with this as well, or something, I don't know, right? Something with this, it like broke something that the hard coding was dependent on to work, and then it somehow went straight to hell. I don't know, right? All I do know is that please, at the very least, Cygames, can we get this on the list of known bugs and like fix it at some point? I would like, I mean, at this point, this is, you know, it's one thing to have, I know like the Metera thing is, the previous change made Farrell have 2 separate entries and then they only work on 1 in this recent patch, maybe? The Metera thing is like, you know, I know that's contentious. Some people say the combo will never happen, whatever. I still think it's insane, right? But like, you know, where one thing is like, oh, like this is a very situational case where the character has access to way more power than they ever should. Sure. This is like the character's broken, like in a bad way. Like the character, you know, one of their most important buttons doesn't function, and it actually matters, like commonly in some matchups, right? Like, you know, I have since walked back my stance on the Metera thing a little bit. Not in that I don't think it needs to be removed, but I did say that, you know, when I first saw it, I was like, this needs a hotfix tomorrow. Now I'm like, this is going to be a problem, right? Don't get it twisted. Like, this is going to become a problem. The Meteras, good Meteras, are going to lab it out, because why the fuck wouldn't they? It's insane, right? To get that shit to be consistent wherever you can, to find new ways to set up into it, all of that, right? But like, it's not gonna happen tomorrow, it's not gonna happen 2 days from now, but like, that probably needs to be removed in like the next patch or something like that, right? You can't have that stay in the game long term. This, right? This needed to be fixed in the patch yesterday, man. They had a bug fix patch yesterday, and they don't even have the known bugs list. Cygames, please fix this shit. I know everyone who isn't a Ferry player hates Ferry. I don't hate Ferry. I think her buttons should work. Yeah. I think Ferry's buttons should function, and I don't care who hears me say it.